Good evening, Balaji.
On a per user basis.
अरे आवाज बंद कर.
Good evening, Hema madam.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Sridhar ji, Jay Surya, Balaji, Gitanjali.
Hemlata ma'am, good evening.
Let me know when we are ready to start. Yeah, good evening, Kalyan ji, Balaji.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening. So, how it went for you, Kalyan ji? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Sridhar.
Oh, good evening. Sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize. Okay. So I'll probably take just 2 minutes so that I don't completely overtake this call. So hope I'm audible. Is my voice clear?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it was an exploratory discussion, and there were a couple of things which happened. So one, the initial call, which was supposed to be for 1 hour, it got they sent a revised meeting invite for 30 minutes. Okay, and then what was supposed to start at 10 o'clock, it started at 11 o'clock. I got a call saying that he's the the interviewer was occupied with something else. So I already was thinking that this is how this is going to start with these two changes, and how is it going to play out. So it started with an exploratory conversation with the Chief Operating Officer of Indium, talking about when their journey started, when he became part of the journey, and what their ambition and their plan is. And so he talked about how they have organically and inorganically they have grown. And sometime in 2023, they received a big boost in the form of a private equity firm taking over that company.
Wow.
Okay. Right. And that company infused a lot of capital into Indium, and that led them to acquire a company called Experian, add few more capabilities into their
Sorry.
into their list of
మీరు మాట్లాడుకున్నారు అట్లకి ఎవరున్నారు
Balaji, you can be on mute, please.
Okay, so then he talked about that, and then he talked about what their vision is. They've grown from $35 million to about $135 million in 4 years time frame, and they're seeing a lot of traction. And specifically, so he called out that the data and AI arena is growing pretty big, and then he called out some CAGR numbers, overall how they grew and what is their vision for the data and AI. And then he then asked me about my experience, my body of work. And then there were about 5 questions he asked in all. So one was about how did I enable growth? Okay, so what was my methodology? What was my frameworks to enable that growth? And then he was curious on certain aspects when I talked about competency development framework, when I talked about innovation. So he asked me how I went about that. That was number one. Then the second area that he asked about was in terms of customer interaction, customer relationship, and specifically he asked about a situation wherein it was a difficult time for our relationship, and what did I do to salvage that relationship? What were the measures that were taken, that were put in place to ensure that there was a turnaround in that situation? So then he asked about specifics in terms of service offers that I built, the catalog of services that I have built, and what has been the return on investment on those catalog of services. And then the fourth area was on he was following my company, Teradata. And so he did see the highs and lows of Teradata. So he was asking about what led to that dip, that low, and what is our plan? What are we looking at? Trying to regain that market share, and what has been my role over the past few years in terms of helping with that sort of regrowth, right? And then the last thing that he asked me was, if you were at the helm of affairs, how would you go about, achieving a charter, right? If this charter was placed in front of you. So what was a 30 minutes conversation? It went on for 1 hour and 20 minutes. And then he asked me, what questions do you have for me? I had few questions. I asked him, and then he said, I think we need to sit down and then have a conversation on how we take this forward. So that's how I know I took like 3 or 4 minutes. Sorry for that. So
Wonderful. So you were quite satisfied with the call from the conversation, it looks like.
yeah, I enjoyed that experience, that conversation. And so he said, I probably need to pick some of those strategies that you talked about and maybe dwell a little more into those. So which means that whatever I spoke, I'm feeling resonated with him. Right, we'll have to wait and see what the next steps are going to be. I've not heard back yet, so
Good. Wonderful.
okay.
At least you got a wonderful experience, and rest, we are all open to whatever is best will always happen.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot for that mock interview. Thanks a lot for giving your inputs, everyone. Marutesh, Sridhar, Preeti ji, Geetanjali ji, and Dr. Hema, that feedback, Rajesh as well, okay? It was wonderful, Anil and Divya. So thank you.
Finally, you remember to call me Gita.
Thanks for accepting the feedback with a, positive and open mind. That's what matters for growth.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations. All the best for the next rounds.
Thanks, Sridhar. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we'll move forward. Okay, good. Geeta, can you make me co-host so as I can share the screen? So in all these things, what matters, whatever we are doing, this finance and all, so it is all, good to know. We need to know once we are in that role, when we are in the shoes of a CEO, then we need to understand the complete dynamics of the financial circle. And there would be cases, if you are appearing for a CXO role, so they may pose, questions to you. So then if you are aware about all the financial jargons, then at least you can quickly make out sense that, what is good for me, what is not good for the company, and bring out your answers, correlate your answers to that, questions, I would say. Good. Okay. So let me know when my screen is visible.
Yeah, we can see it.
Great. So the topic is cutting the fat without losing the muscle. That's what we all want, huh? Yes, in real life, if we look at our own selves, we want to cut the fat. Same thing for the organizations. So I'll just, start with a very raw example. That imagine that you all are owners of a grocery store. And suddenly what happens? There is inflation, and whatever is on the shelves of the store, everything gets expensive by 15 to 20%. The milk, the bread, the groceries. Can you raise the prices immediately? Yes, no, maybe. No, you can't. True. So you can't raise the prices immediately. Why? Because what the customers will do, they are all price savvy. So they'll just, look at the other stores, and now the AI models are such that you tell me, this is my grocery list, you put your grocery list onto any LLM and tell it, I want to purchase this through an online shopping. It will tell you, these items are lower on Blinkit, these are on another, milk basket, these are on another website. So people are so price sensitive. So you cannot, immediately cut down the prices. So what happens? If you maintain the prices, your profit gets squeezed, or even maybe you go negative in profit. So what are the choices you have? You have two choices. Either cut the prices, and which can, ruin your store because you will lose all the profits and all. Or you do a surgical operation and cut down only the waste while protecting what makes the customers keeps coming back again and again to your store. So which one would you like to follow, one or two? Just show me by hand, one or two. Yeah, everyone would like to follow two. And that is the, quality of a CXO, that we all want to cut the fat without losing the muscle. And today we are going to talk about the same thing, that how the organizations deal with this. So whenever the inflationary cycles hit, how to execute cost optimization without destroying the value for the organization. That's very, very important. That you have to ensure that cost optimization is also happening, but not cutting the value as well. This leads to competitive advantage for the firms or the organization. So today we are going to walk through that framework, that how we will run the P&L diagnostic, which would enable the surgical cost reduction. So are you all in for this? Yes? So things can be a bit boring, but bear with me. I'm trying to make it interesting. So we are coming to the inflation squeeze. So what happens? So we'll talk about an inflation squeeze, like, that inflation is going on, and, you are making a sandwich, and you have in between, you have put some cheese, some cucumber, tomatoes, and all the other stuff. You wanted to make a sandwich. How would you like it? You want the filling more or you want the bread more? Bread more is 1, filling more is 2. What do you want? Yeah, filling. Everyone is not answering. Bhai, what? Hey, are you all here? Yes? No?
We are here, madam. I am actually trying to digest and process the information.
Okay, okay,
It's
okay,
a bit
good.
slow processing.
Acha, okay, I'll go a bit slow. I'll go a bit slow. Okay. So what I'm asking is, so you are making a sandwich. It's a simple question I'm asking. You are making a sandwich at your home, and you have two slices of bread, and you have the filling. In filling, you have kept, I would say cheese slice, cottage. It can be cottage cheese or normal cheese. Some tomatoes are there, sliced tomatoes. Some cucumbers are there. So I'm just asking, how would you like, you want your filling to be more or the bread component to be more? If the filling is more, 2. If the bread is more, 1. Yeah, 2. So we all want that, in our sandwich, the filling should be more. But what happens during the inflationary times, the bread, the bread component keeps on increasing, and there comes a time that there is no filling. And filling is kind of our profit. It's because the profit is the same and the bread size keeps on increasing. So there comes a time when you can barely taste the filling. Is it okay? So this is kind of an example. This is the inflation squeeze is like that. There comes a time that you are not able to have that, taste of profit or the taste of that filling. And the bread is more and the, cost increases. The cost of goods sold is increasing and the profits are coming down. So then whenever this kind of situation happens, 3 things generally happen. The first thing is the dilemma. What is the dilemma? The cost has jumped up, which is 15 to 25% of jump. It can be, this is not a small bump that 2-3% the cost has increased. It's a big jump. If your company is spending about $1 billion, then it is 150 to 250 million more you need to spend for, for producing the same goods. Now, same thing that as we talked in the previous slides, the customers have 2 choices. And if you want your customers to be with you, you have to pass that test and you have to compress your margins. You all agree? If it is not clear, please raise your hand so that I can explain it again. Or otherwise, in the end, towards you write down your queries and in the end, we will take up the questions. As you feel comfortable, we can do. What is the response? The smart companies, what they do? They figure out what spending is waste. Means what is the fat in the company which is not helping the customers versus what is the muscle. What is that is the stuff that keeps customers happy and keeps customers coming back again and again to your brand, to your, enterprise. So this, the good, the smart companies, they make these choices. They cut the fat, they preserve the muscles, they optimize the operations. Then we come to the third thing, which is the outcome. What is the outcome? If you get the things right, if you are able to, cut the fat, preserve the muscle, then what happens? In the end, you will emerge as a winner. And when you emerge as a winner, it means you are coming out stronger than your competitors. If you get it wrong, then sort of you enter into a death spiral. Why that death spiral? Because you cut too much. And when you cut too much, the services will get impacted. They will get worse. And when the services get worse, the customers will leave you. When customers will leave you, the revenue will drop. When the revenue will drop, you will cut more. And when you keep, when you get less revenues, you cut more, and again the same cycle will continue to repeat. So it just keeps getting worse. So how is this inflationary squeeze happening? What's the starting point? Starting point is that the cost of goods are growing faster than the revenue. So always remember that whenever the cost of goods is increasing, this is our leading indicator, and it can lead to, this spiral. Immediately, no panic button has to be raised, because there have certain, lot of case studies which indicate that certain companies went into a panic mode and they immediately wanted to cut costs down. And what that, what resulted, the outcome was that these companies went into that spiral mode. So we have to frame this as an opportunity, not as a threat. Is this clear? Wonderful. So now we have to identify the squeeze. How do we find out? What is an horizontal P&L analysis? Now P&L, all of you know. Yes? So this is what is horizontal P&L? When we are talking about if we take two examples, Q1 of 2021 and Q1 of 2023. So when we are talking about this, it means comparing the same metrics across, different consecutive periods. The periods are different, Q1 of 21 and Q1 of 23. But what are we comparing? We are comparing the revenue, we are comparing the cost of goods sold, we are comparing profit, we are comparing the margin. So all these four elements remain the same and the time periods are different. So this is a horizontal P&L analysis. So in P&L, we saw that, revenue is there. Then we have cost of goods sold. Then we have the profit, like revenue minus cost of goods sold. And then we calculate the gross margin. How we calculate it? So that we take out the percentage. So, and when we are tracking this across consecutive quarters, so we want to spot where are we. That spotting we are doing by understanding it is known as the diagnostic pattern. Revenue, what is the metric? Revenue is increasing. It means price hikes partially offset the volume decline. Revenue is increasing. Cost of goods sold is increasing at a double arrow, you see. It means it is increasing at a faster rate than your revenue increase. And what we see, the gross margin is shrinking. Just look at the example. In Q1 2021, the revenue was 100 million. Cost was 60 million. So margin was 40%. It means keeping 40 cents for every dollar. If we look at Q1 23, revenue grew to 150 millions. What do you say? Revenue increased? You all agree? Revenue has come up. But cost from 60, it jumped to 75, which is a bad indicator. So margin has dropped, which is very scary, because if our cost of goods sold increases, then our margins, it comes down. So what we have to see, don't look at only the revenue, which we have talked again and again. We have to see what is our margin. So people can say, oh, revenue has increased and celebrate. No. Impact, what is the impact on cost of goods sold? What is my gross profit? What is my margin? So each and everything is important. Yeah, is there a question? Just
I just mentioned profit margin.
yeah. Just Yeah, profit margin. Yes. Okay. So now we have to work on cutting this fat. So as we talked about, fat in business is also like, on our food, we like to add on dal rice we are eating and we want to add some ghee. If we add little bit of ghee, 1 spoon, it will add flavor to whatever we are eating. But if we add 5 spoons of ghee, what will happen? It will spoil our health. Same thing. So we have to ensure that any spending that doesn't make customers happier, we need to cut it. Any fat or any spending that is not making my customers happier, making my operation smoother, or helping the company grow in long term needs to be removed from the system. Agree? You all agree to this? Yeah. So in retail, if we talk about, today we are taking the case example of retail. Tomorrow we'll take some IT example. So I don't, clutter everything today. So because retail, it's very easy to comprehend. So I've taken today the example of retail. So if we talk about retail and if we talk about fat, generally there are 4 ways in which the fat gets stored. First is about supply chain. Why supply chain? Because if we are shipping the things inefficiently, so let's take an example. So today you want to eat a pizza and you say, okay, let me order pizza. You look at various stores. So there is a one pizza shop which is just, as you go out of your home, there is a pizza shop. And one is there, in another city, maybe, 80 kilometers from your place. If you order from places which is very far off, what would happen? It would increase the cost. But if you order onshore or nearby places, this helps to reduce the cost. So supply chain cost is a very significant cost and it's very important. It's very important to look at what are my supply chain, this supply chain cost. So it's important to look at the cost of, not only on the cost of the product, but the shipping cost. Then we'll talk about SKU rationalization. Here also that 80-20 principle works. The 80% of the volume or the pricing comes from 20% of the goods. And any SKU, stock keeping unit, that is on the shelf, it is taking a space. It is taking a place and it's costing you. So it is important that we focus only on the SKUs which are deriving value for me. Next is shrinkage control. What is shrinkage? Shrinkage is a word for, for stuff that disappears. Like theft happens, damage happens, accounting errors happen. So all these things lead to, it's said that, about 1.5 to 2% of the cost loss is due to the shrinkage. Then marketing efficiency is also very, very important. Why? So there are, on the billboards, on the advertising, there may be certain advertisements going on. But really, does it matter? If you, give the advertising for cables in a movie hall, is it going to serve us? So is it bringing a revenue to me or not? So each rupee that goes into marketing, is it bringing some additional revenue for me or not? A customer acquisition cost, CAC, is a very important term. So am I able to, acquire customers through my marketing efficiency or not? It is very, very important. So whenever we are talking about cutting the fat, it's very important that we try to cut the general expenses, not, focusing on and reducing the quality of the material. So when we are, producing some retail goods, if we focus on reducing the quality, we are entering into a negative trap. And total saving potential from all these 4 exercises has been seen in the range of 8 to 15%. So that is a big potential. So we need to look at that. Okay, so we'll just take an example and we'll understand the same concepts. So looking about, the supply chain. Earlier, I would say that most of the companies, I'll just give you example of my company. So we used to buy very heavily from Germany, from China. And now our company, and I think most of the companies are focusing on made in India. Why? Because there are 2 advantages. First is that once it is near, you have control. You can send your people and check whether the manufacturing is happening or not. Number 2, if at all there are certain delays, earlier we had to airlift and suddenly the project becomes so critical that the supply chain cost we were envisaging that it will come by ship. But later on, due to some urgent requirements, like we were implementing one smart city project, and we had to airlift all the material. So then the shipping cost became multiple times. So air freight costs are 10 times the ocean shipping cost. So if we change over, then near shore, then the lead time decreases, freight cost decreases, and there's an example which I have taken that it results in 8 million. It's an average figure. $8 million annually on 500 million cost of goods sold. So this is the potential. Now talking about SKU rationalization. This is a fictitious example which I have taken, that there were 50,000 active SKUs in a company. 120 million inventory. What is inventory? Inventory means any stock that is lying. If in a retail store, whatever is not sold, whatever is lying in the shelf, that is the inventory. And if the company has to focus, it reduced 15% of the SKUs. It resulted in freeing the 21% of the inventory. And what happens? $25 million freed capital, and warehousing cost also saved by 3 million. So these supply chain SKU rationalization, they are the levers with which we can immediately bring down the cost. So 2 more we talked. These are the 4 pillars, I would say. And one by one, we are trying to understand these pillars. Coming to the 3rd pillar, shrinkage control. As I mentioned, that industry average is 1.2% of the sales is lost, in the theft or double counting sometimes, miscounting, taking one product, expensive product, and billing for a lower value. So this 1.5 to 2% of the sales is lost. So how can we make it effective that we do not get any loss? We do not, we are able to save that money. So if we put RFID tags, it is like GPS for the products. So you are able to track every single item in real time. AI powered camera. These days, through the AI video analytics, can tell, if a person is trying to steal or any obnoxious behavior, it can be detected and it raises a red flag and can be caught. And then supplier audits. Sometimes it has been observed that even the suppliers, they are sending the material, they have to send 100 units. They will deliberately put 95 units because the volume is so high that counting is not happening. So that automatic mechanism through video camera analytics and all, even that can be scanned and monitored. And employee training to reduce damage, because sometimes what happens, handling is not proper. So this also results in doing the shrinkage control. So it has been seen that, on a 70 million annual savings has been done. So means if you deploy video analytics, RFID tags, whatever the cost of these additional measures may be, what happens? You are able to get the ROI, return on investment. The payback is only in only 2.6 months, you are able to recover all the cost. Then talking about the marketing efficiency, as we just talked, the TV ads, billboards, magazine ads, it's like, throwing the seeds into the wind. And we hope that, my garden will be full of flowers in few days. Actually, it's not. So what worked, it's important. Nowadays with Google ads, and there are multiple, advertisement channels that give you that, am I acquiring the customer through this channel or not? Mechanism to measure that. So with that, we are able to know that if I am spending something into the advertising, am I able to get a lifetime value of the customer or not? So focusing on brands, brand campaigns, which really lead to my ROI. And shifting to only performance marketing, only those channels of marketing that are adding value to whatever I am doing. So just an example that I have given. So budget was earlier 50 million. Brand to preference ratio was 60% to 40%. Conversion was only baseline. Attribution, they could not measure ki it's really working or not working. But with focused marketing, the 10% reduction in budget, that brand preference and their preference, it increased for 80%. The conversion increased by 25%. And they were able to track that through this channel of advertising, we are able to get these customers, which is very, very important. So now coming to preserving the muscle, that how do we do it? So these are kind of, these are non-negotiables. We have to work on these. It's like customer experience. We cannot say, no, I will not have the customer experience. Customer experience is what we cannot cut. Even when the pressures are very high, the customer experience has to be there. And not only customer experience, all these four are the key pillars, I would say, of the muscle. If the customers are not coming to you, then your company is into a trap. It is into that death spiral. So we have to focus on all these four pillars. First is that customer experience. If you cut the, 20% of the floor staff in the retail, you cut, what would happen? You are saving maybe some dollars, but the customer satisfaction will drop. The revenue will drop. When revenue drops, you want to cut more people. The revenue drops further. So this is one thing you should not draw. Optimize scheduling with AI, cross-train the people so that one SKU, they can handle the other SKU also, and invest in some self-service ways, like, self-checking the pricing, self-checkout kiosk. This customer experience is sacred and it is very, very important. Then coming to private labels. During inflation, what happens? Customers trade down to store brands, private labels. Okay, they will not go for branded items, but they may come to your, private labels. So if your, company's brand store, brand label is high, like Shopper Stop has their own brand Stop. So people, have some faith in the brands of the store. So they will move to the those brands. So then you have to keep on maintaining the quality of that brand so that people get addicted and later on also they are hooked on to your own brand. Like Amazon has their own home brand. So that is the time when, people invest in private labels and the retail companies can take advantage of that. Employee retention is very, very important. See, if an employee leaves you, the turnover cost is very high. You bring in a new person, the cost of replacement of the employee is very, very high. So during these times, ensure that people do not leave you. Turnover costs are very, very high. So pay above market to reduce turnover, 50 to 30% turnover. These times, experienced people may want to hire from your store. So just ensure that your core people are with you. Then talking about the core technology. See, we all do online shopping. I don't know about all you people, but we do. All women do indulge in online shopping. And sometimes when you are scrolling, you find something good and you are ordering, and sometimes some hitch will come and then, the sale won't click on that moment. Then what you will say, oh, sign from God. I don't want. So that core technology, it has been seen that even a 1 second delay leads to -7% conversion. So that is very, so even if you have outdated checkout systems, it can create long lines. So it's very important to have your tech very, very robust and fail-proof and, safe and quick response is there. You are able to protect this 7%, and then your cyber security and everything should be proper, that people are not getting hacked. So all this leads to building a strong muscle, I would say. Okay, so then we are talking about improve the operating margin even while gross margin is. So what we were saying, that what if you are in a panic mode, you will immediately cut the people. But if you are in a strategic mode, you will do a targeted reinvestment. Labor also, cut 20% of the staff. You will say, no, I'll do an optimized scheduling. I want to maintain the customer experience. Inventory, you'll say, okay, reduce all stock by 15%. No. All your bottom, which are bringing the maximum revenue, you do a strategic pivot and rationalize your bottom SKUs. Marketing mein you say, okay, slash budget by 30%. No, you shift to performance marketing. Technology, some people will say, oh, no, now don't buy any new laptops. Now, don't do this. Freeze all IT spending, panic decision. Otherwise, it will be invest in automation and AI. Short term mein, if you do all the above, it will lead to low morale, poor service. And in long term, it will lead to market share loss. But if you have done the strategic pivot, it will lead to leaner and maintained customer experience, and you have a stronger competitive moat. So these are just the formulas that I wrote.
Dr. Hema, one
Ah,
question.
yeah.
So if you go back to the previous slide,
So
you have an example here. Okay. Looks like you
we'll
have.
just take this and then we will.
Sure. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So there was, there's a case study, and when this, 21, this happened, 21 to 23, the inflation hit. What Walmart did, it was, though their gross margin went slightly down, they invested in automation. They did their supply chain through, use of AI, and then they finally resulted in increase in their margin, operating margin, though it was marginal increase. But yes, operating margin they could increase, and market share gain, the stock went up by 35%, though it was inflationary time. And another company in the same time, the gross margin went due to inflation by minus 2.5 points. They cut the staff by 15%. They slashed the marketing budget. Operating margins come down. The complaints increases. The market share went down. So this is all. These metrics and all we are going to do in the next class. Not next to next class. Yeah, now I'll just stop my sharing and I'll take the questions.
Okay, so no, if you can share and then go back to that slide, the one before that slide, right?
Wait, just hold on. Just hold on. This one?
This one. Okay.
Yeah.
So this slide. Now, so if you look at, especially in the IT arena, so if you look
IT we are going to cover tomorrow. IT, I'll take specific IT examples and
okay. So
explain the IT.
Okay, in the
Just hold
retail.
on for today. So IT
Right.
we will cover. IT I wanted to cover as a separate session. Otherwise it will be too long. So I thought it's
Fine.
good.
And let's say the retail also. So you showed the Walmart example. Okay, so is let's say a Target belongs to the other category. Do we know if see where I'm going with it is there an independent body which does this comparison, okay, and clearly brings out the impact, right? Okay, so let's say it could either be COVID or it could either be some global phenomena. I mean, like what we are going through now. It could be some conflict, some resolution, etc. Right? And a retailer which was able to, improve their bottom line without cutting the staff and still improve their margin, like you said.
Yeah.
And why don't let's say governments or organizations enforce these best practices?
See, actually what happens, these are organizational strategies, not the regulatory, strategies. So it's, these are all private companies. For private companies, the government is not, enforcing these strategies. If you want to take the route of cutting manpower, you do whatever you want. You are the boss for your company. So regulatory bodies, they play a role. They can, say that, okay, now you cannot increase the cost by more than 12% or 13% or whatever one figure they can give. That regulation can come, but not regarding what an organization has to do regarding cutting off people, improving their supply chain. all these things, because each company has a different, I would say, different way of dealing and different markets they are exploring. So government cannot come with a framework that suits everyone. It will be specific to, company of Kalyan. It will be different for Rajesh.
Hmm. Hmm.
Are you able to get it, or you would?
No, okay, even if not government, let's say. So what I'm saying is, let's say some independent body, okay, which can do this comparison and say that, okay, this is what Walmart resorted to, okay, and
So these
following
case
that,
studies are coming from, this Harvard Business Review and all. They do these case studies and then they publish in their journals. They are available in the journals, yes, but not any government body.
hmm, hmm. So where I was going at the end of the day, where I was going with it is, let's say if there is some ratings, okay, if some ratings, we all see, right? I mean, I'm going to the IT, but even in the retail sector, if let's say a retailer sort of, is penalized for adopting to these practices versus a different retailer, in this case, let's say Walmart probably did well and it was able to save the employees and then still maintain that same operating margin, right? Because their measures were good. Let's say you compare it with Target. Now, Target did not do that, and let's say Target is probably penalized with some, with some points. So that it
Who
becomes,
is penalizing? Who is penalizing?
let's say, see, if you talk about a body, some sort of a
No,
body.
there is no such body. At least I am not aware of.
So if we say, okay, I'm again going to IT, but if you talk about, let's say, Gartner. So there's a Gartner. You're aware of the Gartner, right, Dr. Hema? So there's a Gartner.
Yeah, I know Gartner.
Gartner or Information Difference, or let's say Forrester, or let's say, any of these other bodies which they put out their reports with some rankings, etc. Right? And
Gartner will tell you who is in which quadrant, they are doing good in this quadrant. For all the ITs, they put out such reports. And there is a, something goes at the back also, that people, feed them money and then they put them in the first quadrant. So all these things happen. Though they are supposedly neutral bodies only, but still, I would say there is no such regulation of this sort. But yes, this kind may be there, that this company is doing well in this sector, or for sales of this. Find out. At least I don't know if certain some this kind of companies there, which does all this analysis, that who did well, who did not do well. So according to me, only the business school do this kind of a case study.
Can I add a little bit to this?
Yeah, Preeti, yes.
So what you are talking of is like the VUCA model. We know what is VUCA.
VUCA, volatility,
Volatility,
uncertainty.
uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. This is the VUCA is acronym for these 4 terms, where it basically describes very chaotic and unpredictable business environment. So generally what companies do is they have this, like the CXO level or the board or the management level. They prepare themselves in such a way that the organization adapts and builds resilience to optimize strategically in these turbulent kind of environment. I mean, that's how, like how Walmart, the example you gave, Walmart prepared itself and came out with positive result. But otherwise, all these companies mostly are regulated by a regulatory body, like the telecom is regulated by TRAI, banks are regulated by RBI, right? But the kind of scenario that you are talking of, Kalyan, they either, if they are strategizing, they perform well and gain like the Walmart model that Walmart result that ma'am just said, or they fail like the other company X that did not strategize or did not do this smartly. But otherwise, there are bodies which report, like the Big Four is there. Then there are market research companies like Nielsen and all that, Gallup, Nielsen and all that, who report this is what, they are all based on industries, whether it is retail, whether it is e-commerce and all that. So reporting kind of happens, or you can hire independent consultants or consulting companies like BCG and all that. Right? Gartner again reports, they kind of publish reports about different companies, different industries. Yeah. Otherwise, there's no benchmark as such. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Preeti. Yeah.
Thank you.
And any other question? Was it okay? The understanding was clear?
Yeah, very clear.
And I think tomorrow's IT one will probably much more pertinent.
Tomorrow we'll talk about IT.
Yeah.
Okay, good then. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice
Thank you so
background,
much.
Sridhar.
Sorry?
Nice background.
Yeah, very nice
Background.
background. Sridhar.
Okay.
Together we learn, we achieve.
Sridhar Seelam background is very good.
Yes.
Thank you. I kind of used this background for my last interview. Uh, I got an offer, almost got an offer, but suddenly the recruiter called me and said there's one more round of interview. I said I got an offer, right? So no, we have a HR round pending. He's very nice person, looks everything. So I सोचा कि क्या करूं? Then overnight I thought something I have to do some sort of drama. I prepared that wallpaper for myself. So and that HR head of India looked at it and he said, I like the background. Acha, I got the job. So it was like a
It's really looking nice.
yeah, I mean, the challenge is that if I don't have a great lighting in front of me, right, there will be a lot of noise around my hair and face. So I had to choose that color, which is not white but gray shade, some sort of message, and it should look like as if I have prepared it with my name. So thanks for the compliment.
Very good.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night,
Bye
ma'am.
bye. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'll join tomorrow, 5:40.
Good. Anything else? So tomorrow again, morning 5:40.
Okay.
Who all are in? Rajesh, Anil.
Yeah. I mean, Rajesh, I'm seeing Rajesh after a long time.
I had a lot of meetings in the last couple of days. I mean, I was there, but I joined late.
I think you transferred your load to me today. This is going to be a very, very hectic week for me.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Thank you so much.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, Loita Buri, stay back. What guys, why you both don't come on camera?
Ma'am, children is doing anything. disturbing, that's why.
You're not able to close.
Still, figure is a weak ma'am.
Vivek,
And
it's
you also. The room is so dark. We switched off all the lights, so I didn't turn off the camera. You can
Can you throw me out, Gitanjali? I'm not able to close.
Huh?
Not able to leave the meeting.
What?
Yeah, I got it.
Acha, Preeti, how many have you recorded? Give a mute kar yaar.
Hello, Bhuvneshwari.
Hello, ma'am.